go ahead and get this started. Oh, wow, my machine's going quick. It recorded quick right away. Hey,
All
we're
right.
going to be talking archery today with Jeff, and we're going to have a nice, exciting conversation going on here. We're going to learn a lot about archery, and we'll go from there. My name is Roy Canterbury. I'm your host today on Archery Talk 101, and just to let those listening, you can listen to the podcast on Spotify as well as go on to Audible. You can watch it or listen to it there. You can watch it in the Archery Talk Facebook group, Archery Talk 101 Facebook group, as well as on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself. I have a whole lot of videos out there, and you can watch it there. So, of course, the best way, be a member of the group because you get to talk to us live. So, welcome to the show, Jeff. Introduce yourself and tell us a little something about yourself.
Sure. I live in southern New Hampshire. I've lived here my whole life. I started archery when I was 8. My uncle got me into archery with my father, kind of. My father bought the bow from my uncle. It was compound archery. I did that for my first, I want to say, 6-7 years, maybe a little longer. And then I got into traditional archery. I saw a longbow hanging up on my local compound archers dealer's wall, and he gave it to me real cheap and tried it out, and have been in love with traditional archery ever since. So 42 years now shooting.
That's a ways, a long time to be shooting archery. And I started in the 60s when I was about that age, and I'm 68 now, so I've been shooting for well over 50 years, and not constantly, but pretty steady. And there's times when I was off of it, but hey, you never lose the knack or desire to shoot. Once you're an archer, you're always an archer, right?
Yeah, you are. Absolutely. I think so. For me, I got a passion that runs deep, and I think I really got into that and baseball when I was a child, and I kind of put my whole energies into that. And I don't want to say I excelled, but I had a lot of fun, and I think that's what grew the passion more and more over the years.
Yeah, if you're having fun, then that's the biggest part of it. If you're not having fun, you're not going to put in the work to get good at it. At least if you're having fun, you get you don't mind putting the time in to improve your skills, and we're always improving our skills.
Absolutely. Archery is a great community for camaraderie, friends, bringing in family and friends that are from the outside, or making friends in the community. I've not really met a bad apple, nobody I can't work around anyways, and
yeah,
become friends with. It's different on each side of archery. Compound archery, I used to be a gearhead. I used to love to buy the next new gadget and try it on the bow, and in my teen years and stuff, I used to love saving up my allowance and going out and buying the new sights or the new rest for my bows. And then once I got into the traditional, I started bouncing around again. I was always going from longbow to recurve, and kind of went cyclical, went to primitive archery, and then got back to, I just kind of go in a circle. I have a compound hanging on my wall. I don't use it barely. Had to use it a few years back when I got a hernia. I think it was 7 or 8 years ago for one season. And then I jumped right back to the next season with the traditional, but it's still there just in case. I love the looks of it. It's a 1990 Bear Grizzly 6 compound.
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty old one.
Oh yeah, it's like a 40-inch axle to axle. Yeah.
Yeah, you can still shoot those fingers.
Oh yeah, I was shooting it the first year there, no sights. I've got sights on it now, but it's just for the looks of it.
Yeah, I know there's people that use the compounds without sights, and now with the shorter and shorter bows, you can't shoot them fingers because they're just too short, and you got to use the release. Yeah, it pinches them fingers really bad, and I know I was using fingers on my first compound just because as I grew up shooting recurves and with a glove, and then got a new bow, and it was like a 38 axle. The axle, I think it was 38 or 36, and it started. My ring finger would go numb after I shot, maybe, a dozen arrows and go numb. So then I had to go to release, and then, then there's the whole challenge. Back then there really wasn't a lot of options. You're kind of on a budget, and or you don't know any better, so you just buy whatever. And I've had some pretty crappy releases until I got my first Scott release, and then like, okay, I'm not going to shoot at those other ones. They're not near as good. I know now Scott makes really good releases. True Ball makes some good releases.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones, and then of course your Carters and your Stands and ones like that. Those little bit higher dollar ones. And I use a handheld release as well as a wrist strap.
Yeah, my wife uses both wrist straps. I think she's got a True Ball and a Scott, actually. I think she's using the Scott now. She had the True Ball originally.
Yeah,
but she also curves and stuff, but she has a compound. She's got a diamond up on the wall. She likes to shoot that too.
Yeah, those are pretty nice bows because that you could fit so many different people with it.
Yeah. She liked it because it was purple.
Oh, well, and that too. You can get them in the different colors.
Yeah, she's got a purple custom recurve that she had made from St. Joe River Bows. It's a great little recurve, and it's purple. Yep.
Yeah, purple strings on it too.
Oh, I got to look, and I think it does, Roy. It does. It's got a purple and black string.
Oh, purple and black. I just thought it'd been purple and pink.
No, it's purple and black. She doesn't like pink, but yeah, it's this one right here. I really can't see it, but yeah, it's purple and it's got the purple and black string. She's got another recurve back there. The whole household is pretty much set up. My son's got 3 recurves. My daughter's got 1. We're working on getting her man a bow this springtime. One of my friends loaned him one for this past year, but we'll get him a new bow. We got some staves out there to work on in the wintertime. My wife wants to learn how to make her own self bow, so we've got 2 hickory staves out there. They should make 3 bows, and we'll do that this winter. That's a great thing I loved about getting into traditional archery is learning how to make all your own equipment. If you want to, you can learn how to make bows, strings, the grips for your bows, the quivers for your arrows, whether that be river cane, wood, carbon or aluminum, how to fletch, how to even go out and get wood arrow shoots, primitive style, and do them that whole way. It was fun learning that whole process over the past few decades.
Yeah, and you can make your string just from the sinew from the deer. Make
If
your
you
own
want
string.
to do that, absolutely.
If you wanted to, I'm just going to buy the string material because I don't want to take the time it takes to take it all off and process it. But it could be done. You're just twisting them, and
I've never done sinew myself. I've watched many videos and read about it and the splicing, and it takes a lot of work, but you get a nice string when it's done. I've done rawhide, and then obviously Dacron and stuff. I usually have a friend down in Massachusetts make all my strings. I actually just got a bow back from him last night. The long bow up the top, he had made a string for that. We went down to his house and he'd made 4 strings for us. Then we went out shooting and I left that bow. Don't ever leave your bow at a friend's house because then you're going to miss it.
Yeah, and then they're going to shoot it too.
He told me he shot it a few times. Yeah.
Well, you left it. I figure it's okay to shoot, right?
Yeah, got to shoot that string in. That's what he told me.
Yeah, got to shoot it in. They do stretch a little bit. Especially using like the Dacron that you use, for the recurves and stuff. They do have a little bit of stretch in them, and the string I use for compounds don't have near as much stretch in it. But you don't want to, unless your bow is designed for it, you don't want to use the fast flight strings on them because you're going to break those tips off.
Yeah, unless you got reinforced tips and the whatnot. Yeah.
And it's just easier to use the string design for longbows and recurves, and I got plenty of both.
My buddy's a couple hours away from us now, and I think we're going to start making our own strings. So we'll probably make a string jig this year along with the bows that we make and the arrows for her, to fit her bow. And we got a few other projects, a little homemade wall spine arrow tester. I had a big table one. Yeah, I got rid of that one, and we found a little article to make one that hangs on the wall. So we're gonna do that. We got a few projects written down for the wintertime after hunting season.
You gonna start making Flemish twist strings or just regular?
Yeah, for us, for the home. For my self bows, I usually make just a regular tillering string out of Dacron, and then I'll use a timber hitch and I'll just shoot it that way. But my buddy Kevin made me a string for my latest self bow, and there's no movement in it. Sometimes when you have a timber hitch in it, you'll have a 1/4 inch this way or 1/4 inch that way, and you got to kind of make an adjustment. There's no adjustments after the string stretches, now that I've got the new one. So we're going to do it here. I make arrows here and do everything else for all our traditional bows. So why not do the strings here too?
Yeah, it's the only thing left. And, it's been a long, long time since I made a Flemish twist string, but, I've made them and it's kind of interesting. Now I don't know if my hands would take all the twisting it takes to make one. Yeah, because you're doing a lot of twisting and twisting and twisting and twisting and back when I was doing it probably some 20 years ago, it was it's harder on your hands then, and 20 years later, I don't know if I want to make a Flemish twist. I have the jig to make the other ones. Yeah, I have the jig to make strings. I can make well over 100 and some inch string if I wanted to. I got the string jig, I got 2 bars. I got the regular one that come with it, which wouldn't work for single cam strings. So I have an extra longer one, so I can make the longer strings if I need to. But for the recurs, you just use the small one. When I had it set up at shop, I just had the big one. I just never bothered using the little one because didn't need it. I could always shorten them up. I couldn't make them longer. So yeah, I've made lots of strings, and I use the BCY string materials. What I use most, that's most what I have. I got a few rolls of Brownell, but they're the old ones, not the newer style ones. From what I'm reading, they don't seem like they're as good of materials they used to be, the Brownell. But I've always had good luck with the BCY, and they make so many different colors, and now they even got more colors now. And I think I probably got a couple dozen different colors in both the B50 and the 8125 is what I use for the compounds, and all kinds of weird color combinations. And I was trying to do up some, and I actually made up some sample colors. This one here is a copper and a mountain berry, and blue and copper, pink and purple, like a black and I think it's copper, fluorescent green and black, where you can actually see them. And then here's a pink and fluorescent green. And then what is that one? That one is 3 different colors. Made 3 different colors on that one.
I got a 3 different color one on my recurve. It came out kind of neat. It's just camouflage.
Mountain black. I think it's black and like copper, something like that.
That's nice.
I was doing some training videos on how to do different things, and I was making up some sample different ones, like, okay, what color should I use on this bow? And I made a whole bunch of different samples and say, okay, which color should I use? And I'm not too much for flashy colors, but there's a whole bunch of other ones. There's silvers, and of course the normal traditional colors, and and I had my store, I was making strings. Somebody come in, well, they need a string. So what color? Black. No, you can't have an all black. Unless your bow's all black, you can't have an all black string. You got to have something else. You got to pick
no
some colors.
Ninja strings.
no solid black strings. No, not doing it. Any other color I'll do solid, but not black.
Those are the ones you buy at Bass Pro Shops, the solid black endless loop ones.
Right. Yeah, it's like,
I
no,
have wanted
let's.
to try the endless loop on the Howard Hill style bow, the ASL that I have up there. Apparently that was what he had used back in the day. And I've seen a couple of comments on Facebook that it's kind of a string that you should try out using, might be a little better than the Flemish twist. So I'm going to give it a whirl in the next couple months, maybe after hunting season probably passes.
Yeah, there's so many options on making strings. Let your imagination go. I took one string. It was green and red, and I, instead of normally you twist it around. Well, I took and I twisted the two colors and I folded them inside itself, so that it twisted each side separately, and it formed little V's on the string.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And
I heard you talking about that on one of your podcasts, actually.
Yeah. Buddy of mine had his bow stolen, and I says, "Well, look at the string. It's green and red, forms little V's on the string." Yeah, I made that string. That's his bow. And then I took a 3-color one and I braided them, the 3 colors on one of my hunting bow, for quite a while. It was on there until it finally broke. And, I hadn't been shooting it in a while, and it's like, well, I know I needed to replace it a couple years later and hadn't got to it yet, and ended up breaking in the case. It's like, oh, okay, I guess got to make a new one now. But
it's the part of the traditional archery that I love the most. You make your own strings, your own whatever breaks. You can pretty much fix it. I got a bow on the wall over there that got slammed in a car door. It's a sentimental bow. I've hung it up now, but I did shoot it like 600, 700, 800 shots just to make sure it would hold up. But I literally repaired that with furniture thread, epoxy, and super glue. And it's got a lot of wraps on that top limb, but it's I don't know if you can see all the wraps on that top limb over there.
Oh yeah, it looks like somebody's crested it.
Exactly. But it held up, and I was like, you know what? Now it's going to go on the wall in honor of my buddies who owned that bow prior to me. And you can work magic sometimes. I love to make quivers. I love to make side quivers. I made that yucca back quiver. I got that from a pal out in California, Dan Navarro. He shipped that to me. I got some other yucca out on my workbench in the other room. And actually, Nicole, my wife's going to make a quiver out of that too. A hip quiver she wants to make for her bow to go along with that. But I like back quivers, side quivers, whatever I can get my hands on if I'm in front of the TV or if I'm listening to a podcast or a record on the record player, then I'll just make my hands busy, if I'm not out in the woods. That's kind of the stinky part about living in the city is if you can't get out to the woods, you're stuck here. So you can't shoot in your backyard, So we've had people get in trouble of shooting in the city, shooting in city limits.
Yeah. Some places get a little upset about it, but when you think about it, it's not always the safest place to shoot, because you can't always tell exactly where the arrow's going to go. And I had a bow one time and shooting compound at the indoor range, and I'm drawn back about halfway back, and the head of the release broke off.
Oh,
and sent the arrow up into the ductwork. So it sent it up, and I wasn't pointing up. I don't, not one of those that draw up in the air and pull down and use my weak muscles to draw the bow. I lean a little bit forward and I'm pushing out, and it broke. And it just that break, it just sent that arrow up. And who knows how far that would have went because the release broke.
Wow.
The head of it come off.
Rest.
Yeah. I was only about halfway back, and it just launched it up into the air and put a hole in the ductwork, and that's when I shoot aluminum arrows. So there's 25-12, so it's nice big 1/4-inch hole. Yeah, not like the little carbons and little bitty holes, but no, this is probably about the fattest arrow you could get. I don't know if they made anything bigger than 25s, but in aluminum days. But yeah, it's and I had two releases. And looking at the design, a machinist friend of mine actually made the new piece that broke, and you could see that the thickness of the material, right where it fastened into the release part, the head part fastened in, was so thin that it's no wonder it broke. It was, maybe it would have been okay at 40 pounds, but not at 70. It
Yeah.
just wouldn't handle it. And I had two of them. The other one never did really work very good at all. And I said it before, the name of the release was fail safe. It had fail in the name of it. So yeah, it failed. So
Wow.
I still got that release, as well as the one that we fixed the new piece for it, and they're just sitting there. I don't think
Well,
I'd even let anybody use them.
thank goodness it was in the league and it wasn't out, at a shoot or a tournament outside.
Yeah, because they just set it in the ductwork. Otherwise, it could have went who knows where.
Yeah, I had taken a friend to the range. This is years back. It was his first day shooting. And almost his first arrow, he had showed me, and a couple other friends had showed him how to shoot and whatnot. And he had like this very lightweight bow, but he also had that habit. I'm not sure if he saw some other archers start the sky draw, whatnot. He started doing the sky draw, and his finger slipped. That arrow went up into a pine tree, and that pine tree wasn't done growing. It kept growing up until it started growing out. And we got to watch that arrow for the next few years until the pine tree reached its height to continue to go up.
Yeah, I don't know why people do that, because that's one of the weakest muscles you have, is pulling down with your arm, and that's what they're doing. You're pulling down with the arm, and that's weak. It don't take, you got to be super, super strong for anybody. Just a kid can keep you from throwing your arm down. And why are you going to try and draw a bow with the weak muscles and pull down on it, when you can push forward and be really strong? And, I've gone over that many times on what part of your hand you should be pushing with. And we don't go over it again. Just listen to, any one of the podcasts, we kind of go over it. But yeah, it's amazing, some of the stuff that you see people doing, and it's like, okay, one, it's not safe. Two, you're working way too hard.
Yeah, you got to do your best that when you see something like that, you point it out and you be like, look, this is how we do it. And that's why we don't do that. So, and then you get him working out in the right direction. And he ended up, becoming fairly decent. He gave it up. He gave up archery, but he didn't sky draw after that.
Yeah. And like, how many arrows you want to put in trees? Watch them grow up and up and up. Yeah, it's crazy, when some of the things that you see people doing. And I don't like to just go up and say, hey, let me make you shoot better. And and that's why when I had my 3D rig on, I kept my NFA archery instructor patch on it. I figured if somebody's interested, they see the patch, know I'm an instructor, they can ask.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. I've already
Yeah.
learned something off of your podcast, after 42 years. And I've known this before, especially shooting other bows that were more of my favorite bows, and I really wanted to do well with them. But you said we've only got two things to worry about: storing energy and aiming.
Yeah, that's it.
And when I put that together with my self bow, because I was shooting my self bow native style, I was snap shooting it, bringing it back, and as soon as I hit my face, I'd release. And 10 yards, 12 yards, I was doing well. But anything beyond that, my groups just got out to, the 10-inch, 12-inch area, which was too much. Started actually coming to an anchor, and just scrapped shooting, snap shooting, and said, all right, well, I'm going to store that energy and I'm going to aim. And all of a sudden, I gained like 5 yards on my effective shooting range. I got to give a lot of credit as well to a friend, Eric Lockwat. Um, we've been shooting this year, a few shoots together, and he saw me struggling. He asked me why, and I told him, I just don't want to shoot this way with this bow. And he's like, you might want to try it. And I tried it the next go around, and boy, my score improved by 40 points. And I was like, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Sometimes, just take somebody else watching what you're doing and say, hey, why are you doing it this way? And ask all the questions. Next thing you know, it's like, why am I doing it that way?
I think that's how you get to be, at least in this sport, you can get to be a lot better by shooting with friends, family members, or fellow competitors, because we all like to kind of see each other succeed, even if you are competing against that next guy or next girl, especially when you're friends,
Right.
And I've become friends with Eric this year, and online a couple other gents that I've shot with. And it's good to get out there. I hadn't been out except for with my son and a couple other of my work friends over like the past 10 years. We'd go to maybe 3 to 5 3D shoots a year, and just have fun. No competition like it used to be. And just have a good time. Now we're kind of getting back into, I don't want to say the competitive side, but we're going to be going, my wife and I, and hopefully our son, every other weekend next year, back on the 3D circuit. It was something that I had done for, 2 to 3 decades, and then I'd stopped the last 10 years to raise the fam and do that. But we always still had, archery at least once a week. We'd go to the range and whatnot, or we were doing something in the house. At one point I had a huge archery book collection. So I had, read tons of books, archery, bow hunting, everything from the early 1900s, late 1800s, all the way to, today. And I sold off most of that collection online. I got a few books that I keep now. So I know most of those people were happy with the purchases and the books.
Yeah.
That's a big part of traditional archery, I think, is the history, the books, the magazines that we have access to. Traditional Bow Hunter magazine's a great one. Primitive Archer magazine's a great one. Yeah, stuff like that. Not putting down compound archery at all. I mean, like I said, I did it for years and loved it. And, I still love watching my wife shoot hers. And, I'll probably take that one down once next year and shoot it. But definitely getting back into the 3D thing next year, where COVID kind of killed our local club that we had here for the past couple of years. And we're getting that. We had a meeting actually last night, a few of us, about getting that restarted, having a winter spring shoot in 2024. So hopefully that's going to get the ball rolling, get more of the guys and gals that are online on the Facebook archery things that are local, but kind of don't go to we have a Granite State Bow Hunters here in New Hampshire, and it's probably like 99% compound, 1% traditional. So those traditional people, they don't go out too often to those shoots, it's too bad, because then we don't get to meet them. They don't get to meet us. We don't get to have that camaraderie and fun, but we do online. We'll talk to each other online and whatnot. But hopefully we can have some more shoots that are all traditional, so that they can, feel more comfortable to get out there and shoot with us, bring their recurve bows and self bows out there.
Yeah,
it used to be a lot bigger on the East Coast. Excuse me. It used to be a lot bigger on the East Coast than it is now. It's archery 3Ds are a lot bigger down south and out west than they are here on the East Coast. I remember in the 80s when I was 8, when I first began, there was tons of people all the time showing up to all the shoots. Um, my uncle was a great shooter. He was a state champion a few times. Um, I've been a flash in the pan over the years a couple times. I did well. I placed third in the state champs a couple times over the years. And then at some all traditional, tournaments, I'd place in the top 3 or the top 5. But mostly I was always tailing my buddies, the group that I used to shoot with. One of my friends, my old friends, he stopped shooting since, but his name was Harry Hubbard. He's like, I'm not going to teach you how to shoot, Jeff. This is when I very first started traditional. He's like, but how did he put it? You become who you hang around with. There you go. So wise words. So in one way, he was telling me, hang around with us, watch us shoot. You're going to pick up how to shoot good. And he was right.
Yeah.
I'm not excellent like them, but I did become a lot better just by watching them. My other friend in that group, Kevin Coleman, he took the mentoring, of how to shoot this, how to shoot that, how to do this, how to do that to the next level with myself. And I'm very thankful to him. I would probably put him as my main mentor throughout archery. I've had a few, I've had the pleasure of working kind of like a part-time gig years and years back. We used to have a all traditional archery shop. We used to have 2 actually in New Hampshire. But one was a couple who ran it up in Allenstown, and I used to work for them like maybe 1 day a week or something like that. And then I'd disappear for a while and come back, and they would teach me, what they knew, and I would spine arrows for them, weigh arrows for them, and they'd give me deals and discounts on equipment and whatnot. And that was when I was really getting into books, and they had all the greatest books. That's Ray and Renee Grenier. They used to own Lost Nation Archery out of New Hampshire. Now Lost Nation Archery is out of Montana, I believe. I think it's out west. I know that. And we used to have another archery. That guy closed down, I want to say a few years before Lost Nation, actually. But that's a shooting family. They are, Ray was a black bear hunter for years and years and years. Always successful. His sons, Kevin and Chris, are fantastic shooters. I think Chris is a pro staff for a saddle company now, for a tree saddle company. Kevin was probably, I want to say Kevin Grenier, Ray and Ray's son, was probably the best shot I ever shot with on a 3D course. I mean, he'd just have fun, and he'd go out and shoot a 270, 280, just not even wanting, not even worried about the scorecard. It was amazing to shoot with him.
Yeah,
But,
I've been with people that, just amazing shots like that. And I got one friend that he can tell you how he shot every one on the course. I had trouble remembering what I did on the last target, let alone all of my shot, 40 arrows.
that's this guy. Yeah.
Like, he could tell me how he shot every arrow, and the distance it was and all that. And it's like, I'm lucky to remember how I shot the last target, let alone, what I'm shooting, So I guess I just never was that deep into analyzing every shot. And, I make the shot, it's done. I can't change it. Next.
Next shot.
One.
I've been lucky to shoot with some really, really good shooters over the years and learn from them, as much as I could. I've tried to be humble, and not always jokes out on the course. We are always having a great time usually, and laughing, and it's not like golf or anything. We're not throwing the golf clubs, we're not throwing the ball. When we miss a target, it's usually a rib or jib and on to the next one. Or if, I think the last tournament we went to, the last one and one before, Eric didn't even miss any targets. It was great. Yeah, and I only missed like 2. I like stump shooting a lot too, out in the woods. Me and Liam have done a lot of hunting and stump shooting over the past few years. I don't know if you must know what stump shooting is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so our listeners may not, but
Well, it's when you put the old blunt tips on the arrows instead of field points and broadheads, and you go around and you shoot rotten stumps or whatever else you can find out in the woods to sling an arrow at. You know, you can look for animal sign while you're out there, look for trees, mushrooms, you know, any kind of wildlife, flora, fauna. It's just a good time usually.
they just pick out a leaf or something and take a shot at it.
Yeah. Yeah. The hunting area that me and Liam go to is it's a pretty decent area. It's got some deer. It's got a couple of bear that we have not seen yet, but we have seen their sign everywhere. Probably the past 6-7 years. We saw a moose 2 years ago. Big moose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was a 30-40 incher. Yeah, he was about 20 yards away from us.
We
That was
don't get
nice.
moose down here too often. And when they
No.
do, they got something's wrong with them because they don't just normally come down here this far, far south. They're just, if they are, they got something, some disease or something, and they're just lost and they're just roaming and headed south and just kept going and because we don't have moose here in Nebraska.
It's down in southern New Hampshire, we don't see them too often. You know, like that one area that Liam and I go to, we do see moose pellets, and we'll see a track every now and then, but we go there 3, 4, 5 times, maybe the 6th time we'll see some moose sign. You know, it's infrequent. So for us to see that was something. You know, we heard them coming from probably 30-40 yards away through the woods, so we were able to stop, crunch down, and kind of get out of the way of him, and just watch him pass. He was majestic. It was beautiful.
You get your camera out and record it on the camera.
It was it's lottery in New Hampshire, so we don't that's all we can do is take a picture.
Yeah. Well, when you don't have that many of them, then you're not going to have a lot of tags available. And I think if I was going to go moose hunting, I'd go someplace for a little bit better chance of getting a tag where you can pretty much be sure you're going to get a tag.
Yep, absolutely. I do like Facebook a lot, and I'm not on the other social medias yet per se. I may jump on them because we're gonna try and get the word out to the club and the new shoots coming up in 2024, and that may help. But I've made so many friends in the past 5-6 years selling off a bear archery collection, all the books that I sold off, knives, other archery equipment. I had thousands and thousands of dollars of archery equipment saved up, and we made the decision to move into a tiny home or mobile home in the near future.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, you know what? We got to go through all of this stuff and get rid of it. Don't fit on the workbench or on the wall, then it's got to go.
Yeah,
and
sometimes you got to do that.
A lot of friends that way online. People all over the place. I've shipped to Canada, Alaska, all over the lower U.S. I haven't shipped across. I don't think I've shipped across the pond, but I've bought from across the pond. I bought from Britain. There's Sagittarius Archery. Rod Harris over there. I bought one of the nicest quivers that I'd ever had from him. He makes Howard Hill style longbows, ASLs, American Semi longbows. They're real nice. I haven't shot one yet per se. I am on the list for another custom longbow. I've had quite a few of those over the past years, and having trouble finding the perfect one. I've got close to the perfect one on my wall, but I'm still looking. I think that's the eternal search for a traditional archer, is finding that perfect,
that bow that fits you just perfectly and you know, just like it's part of you. And
I shot one of the most perfect bows I think I ever shot was a Bob Lee recurve. I ended up selling that. I don't remember why. But it was, thinking back, it was definitely a bad sale, a bad sale. I should have kept that bow. That would probably have been the best recurve I ever shot. I'd say the best longbow I'd ever shot was that one I've got on my wall, or a St. Patrick's Lake longbow. Eric Hoff over there makes a fantastic bow. There's some other great ASL, Howard Hill style longbow makers out there. It's probably a top 5 or top 10 out there. I only tried 4 or 5, but I'm definitely picky when it comes to my grip. I
yeah.
have small hands, but I like a bigger grip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that knife style grip that's really thin. So I'm on the list to get a Donnie Wilkerson. I think it's Creekwalker Trading Post is the name of his company. And I've had a quiver made from him in the past, and it was the best bow quiver I've ever had, bar none. And I'll get another 1 or 2 from him, but he's now making bows, so I'm going to try a bow from him as well.
Very good.
Yeah, that's a problem. It's just like in all archery, from compounds to traditional bows. We're always wanting to buy the next greatest thing or try it out. It's tough.
Yeah. The 2 bows that I shoot, one's a 2001, one's a 2003. And
Wow.
then I have I think it's 2015 Bear that I bought when I was at Cabela's. We talked about this before in another podcast, but we would get in bows that were returned that had problems, and then we'd fix them all up, and then we'd sell them not as new, but we have a used rack. We'd sell them as used bows, and nothing wrong with them. Like you get in 3 of a whole bunch of the same exact bow. Well, each one had something different wrong. So we'd pull the good parts off them, make up a new one, and then if we had enough to make 2, we'd make 2. And some we had so many extra risers from some of these we couldn't do. So they actually cut them down and used them to hold like sights, to put sights on, so you could hold it up and see what the sight looked like. And
Nice.
that what do you do with, when you have a riser that it's too expensive to get the parts, when it's a low end bow anyway.
Thinking outside the box,
Yeah. So they just cut a bunch of them down and, just put a little hook on the front of it, and here you go. Well, here's your sight. You take a look at them and see what they look like.
Yeah, put it right out there. So yeah, I mean, New Hampshire archery since the COVID, I think it's probably done, it's really hit everybody for all their shoots, and all getting together as groups the past 2-3 years has been horrible. So I know our state is going to be, bringing it back 2024. Hopefully other states around New England will, try the same. My wife and I have made the commitment to, as a New Hampshire couple, start next year going around to other state shoots. We've got a schedule set up already, and which shoots that we've picked out, which 3D tournaments we're going to go to, and just getting those New Hampshire license plate out there sometime at a New Jersey or New York or Rhode Island shoot
Right.
will, push those people to be like, what, let's go try their New Hampshire shoot, and then it kind of builds up from there. I remember back in the early mid 2000s, late 90s, the traditional archery scene here, the compound archery scene, everything up here was pretty big. And it's just died out over the past 10, 15 years. And it's too bad. We used to have guest speakers come from out west all the way over here, to Massachusetts, New Hampshire to speak at our, rendezvous, 2 and 3 day rendezvous. I don't know if you've ever been to a archery rendezvous before, but they are a lot of fun if you like to shoot and you like to talk to like-minded people. You can learn a ton.
Yeah, I don't
You
like
know,
to talk to archers.
you can try. Everybody wants you to try their bow. Let me tell you, especially if you're new to archery. If you tell somebody that you just started, within the last few years, and they are stoked about what they're shooting, they want you to try it, because they want you to have
Yeah.
that same feeling, and maybe he'll, be another purchase for my bowyer that makes my bow, but it's also nice watching other people just have every other bow in the world. There's
Oh
not too
yeah.
many people have the same bow when it comes to traditional archery. Um, there's so many bowyers. There's literally dozens, probably. There might be hundreds.
Oh yeah. I talked to quite a few people that are making bows and arrows, and I had a lady on not too long ago that she makes arrows, takes them, her husband makes bows, and
Julia
it
Norris,
just,
right?
yep. Yeah, I think that was, let's see, that was, when did that one come out? That was on October 2nd when I
Yeah.
recorded that one.
I think I
And
watched that one and the one prior. That's when I started watching them, and that one was a great one. It really was. It's almost like the universe is kind of working on me and my wife, Roy, to get back into, not back into archery. We've always been into it, but back into the 3D scene, the competitive scene, the rendezvous scene, just going and camping out and having a good time. And now that we're like, oh, the kids are grown, what are we gonna do? I was like, we're gonna do what we've always been doing, just a little more, you
yeah,
know. And when she spoke, Julia, it was hitting. I don't make laminated bows, but I know how I have the knowledge to make self bows. They've made a couple of dozen. Maybe someday I'll make a laminated bow. Who knows? I make the arrows, but Nicole wants to learn how to make a self bow, and I'm sure she'll want to learn how to make arrows for her quiver that she's going to make. So,
yeah,
it'd be nice to meet other couples out there, like her and her husband. And I've got a couple other friends that they're actually high level competitors that they're couples, and they go out there, whether it's on the bare bow scene or just regular self bows, long bows, recurve scenes. You get to watch their progress throughout the year, on Facebook or social media. And
yeah,
that goes a long way sometimes to building up somebody's passion for a sport, whether it be archery, basketball, baseball, whatever. If they're able to watch somebody else's success or failures and fun times, then they're more willing to try it, get out there and be like, you know what, I'm going to go try and pull back a bow. I'm going to see what this is all about.
try it. If it's not for you, then that's fine. Try it and see. You might like it, you might not. You won't know until you try it. And that's just the thing. It's like, you just got to try it, and if you like it, then go. If you don't, then find something else.
Yeah.
Kids
I
are real
think
good at changing sports.
I think my family knew I was going to like it. They got me into it at 8, and not to get into it or anything, but we had a family tragedy around that time, and they needed to get me on a different path, to stop grieving and whatnot. And so they got me into shooting, like rifles and 22 pistols. And my stepfather got me into that. And I think once they saw that, my grandmother got me into baseball that spring, and I was really starting to love that. And they were like, all right, this guy's he's an outdoor kid. He's always riding his bike outside with his
Yeah.
friends. And so let's keep that going. And then once I picked up the bow, I usually don't like the looks of like compounds per se, but the bow that they gave me when I was 8 was the most beautiful bow I'd ever seen. It was
Yeah.
this candy apple green sparkly riser, these white limbs, and these gold, like a goldish metallic wheels. It was a Cougar Magnum, Martin Cougar Magnum, and had the springy rest, the old 80s springy rest for,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
shooting. Yep. And a bar sight with 3 little sight pins and Easton stabilizer from back in the day. I just loved that, the looks of that thing. and shot it for years up until I was ready to hunt. So for about 5 years. At 13 is when I took the bow hunter education course, and that's when my mom and stepdad bought me a new bow, which I didn't like the looks of, but it fit me better because it was a little bigger. It was a
Yeah.
bare black compound. Shot that for a couple of years, and then I went and upgraded a couple more times. You know, I was getting to those teen years where I could afford a more decent bow myself, so I would purchase those. They had some weird bows back in the 90s before they started coming out with the good ones. You know, I remember that I had a Jennings Unistar. You remember that?
I don't remember that one.
Okay, that had like a wheel, a cam on the bottom, and then a bow tie cam attached to the bottom part of the riser.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was crazy. It was a shooter, though. Let me tell you, to get it in tune was heck outdoors. But once it was a shooter.
Yeah, there's been some weird design bows out there that you never know, you know, how they're going to last, and some of the kind of weird designs they just didn't last long because, you know, people see it and it's like, oh, I don't want to shoot that. But you know, they've come a long ways. You know, compounds didn't really exist until the late 60s is when the
Yep.
first ones come out. And it wasn't really till the 70s when there was even some available to really purchase. And, you know, that's when
I think Allen came out with it first, and then Jennings kind of really ran with it, right?
yeah. Now, the first compound I shot was a Bear Whitetail 2. My brother
Okay.
had bought it. I shot
Yep.
that. That was kind of weird. It had all these little cables and stuff running all over the place. And, you know, I shot it okay. And then I got my first bow that I bought was American Challenger. And I shot that for a while until one day I was getting ready for hunting season, you know, going through making sure everything's all there, and my sight's off and off, and it just every time I shot this off. And so finally I just, okay, I'm gonna reset, go right up close, and I'm holding the bottom half of the bow in my hand, the other half's kind of smacked me in the chest. The riser broke. Riser broke in half. You know, that's
Ouch.
when they were poured risers back then.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
High Country had bought them out. So I got a hold of them, and they sent me new High Country, and I get this thing in, and the stickers on them are all just cracked and just crappy. So they sent some new ones in, and they were just as bad. And you know, and then there was just all kinds of trouble with it. And finally I had one of the pro shops here, had to make them a High Country dealer in order to get the new limbs in so they could put them on. And I just traded it off for my first PSE. I forget which model it was now. It's been a while. And I shot that for quite a while. And then I saved up and then bought a Matthews Q2. And then shortly after that, in 2001, I bought a sporting goods store and was an archery dealer as well for PSE. So I'm going to spend a week down in Tucson, Arizona at the PSE dealer school, learn how to make the steel cables and strings and tear the bows apart and put them back together and all kinds of other stuff. And part of the deal was getting a bow with your class that you went through. And I told him, I just told him, it's like, I'm shooting a Matthews Q2. Which one should I pick? This is good, if not better. And that's when I got my PSE Carrera. It was way faster. I think the Q2 was rated at 305 or 302 feet per second. The Carrera was rated at 320.
Oh, wow.
And
That's substantial, yeah.
I set up and started shooting it, and it's like I had no problem selling that Matthews after that, because it's a better shooting bow. Even though the
Yep.
Matthews, the first time I shot it through paper and shot a perfect hole, but you know, that's not as much. You know, the bow is you know, getting set up correctly, and that's the thing. A lot of people think, you know, the end all is shoot through paper.
I was just thinking that. I'm glad you brought that up. So many people I hear, even out on the courses today, from a lot of the archers, is speed, chasing speed. But if you would pay more attention to how that bow feels while it's back at your anchor, maybe
Right.
you might shoot a little better as well.
Yeah, you know, shooting through paper, I can take a bow that shoots a perfect hole and make it tear just by changing my grip. I made that bow that had a perfect tune shoot wrong.
Yep.
And now
Absolutely.
you're chasing your grip and your form and not chasing the arrow. And you know, now once I had my shop, I had the stuff that I set them all up, and you know, I use levels and stuff to set them up, and I have a laser that I set for center shot, because the PSE patent for center shot risers is what everybody's using. I didn't know it, but PSE owns the patent on center shot design risers, but they never restricted it to them. They just let anybody use it. They held the patent on it, but everybody uses it. And so I just have a laser that bolts on instead of your sight. You line it up a string, stick it out, adjust your rest so the tip of the arrow is lined with the laser, and there your center shot's perfect center shot. And then you adjust your rest where you want it, and level out your bow so that your bow is level as well. Put a level on the string, set it up so that is level. There you go, you're level and plumb, and you don't shoot through paper. No reason to. You know, if you're shooting through paper, you can use that for checking your spine. Because what'll happen if you shoot for paper at different distances, and so you get a high tear, a low tear, or a left tear and a right tear, and it changes the distance. That's your arrow doing one of these, you know, wobbling back and forth. Good indication it's an underspined arrow. So
yep, absolutely.
That.
It's a different game, you know, tuning wise, slightly from compound to
right.
traditional, but there's tuning just the same. You know, a couple years ago when I bought the compound, I actually had to go out and buy Chuck Adams's old book where he has that great paragraph on tuning. I had remembered it from so long ago when I had compounds. I was like, oh, I know just where to go for this. So I bought the book, and I was like, and within 5-10 minutes of reading it, I had remembered everything. And I was like, oh, why did I forget that? You know, when I tuned it up, and I was lucky enough. I got some, you might remember those. Do you remember JDA arrows, Jim Doherty arrows? Jim Doherty archeries?
I don't remember those.
Yeah, they're old school. These are probably in the late 70s, early 80s. They're silver, platinum blue kind of. I'm looking at them on the wall. They're real nice arrows. They had a camo version too. Yeah, this was after, I think, no, it might have been when he was still with Pearson Archery. It might have been. So.
Yeah, I remember the old Game Getters, a solid green arrow, and our Game Getters had the first probably 6 or 8 inches was silver, because it shot so much the anodizing came off.
Yep, I actually traded some of those to my buddy Kevin Coleman last night. I traded him a rattlesnake skin, couple rattlesnake skins, and a whole slew of Game Getters, Super Slam, all 2018s that he needed. And I got a whole bunch of goose fletches, Canadian goose fletches to use for future project. And so we were both excited to do that trade. And that's a lot of things in archery as well, is you can do a lot of trading in community, you know?
Oh yeah.
I don't know, dozens of times online, I've just shipped out an item and gotten an item in return, no monetary, you know, thing, no money changing hands, you know. I just got to thank God that I stopped all my transactions this year, you know, because the government's thing with, you know, watching out how much PayPal you bring in money wise. You can only bring in a certain amount before they're going to tax you. If they taxed me the last 3 to 4 years, I would be buried. Yep. I mean, when I had sold off, I think I emailed you or did that thing, whatever, when I was filling out the, you know, the questionnaire type of thing. I've only got like 10, 15 books left. And then I had about 220. Some of those books were like $500 books. They were unprinted, out of print. They only made 500 or 1,000 of them because it's in the archery community, traditional bow archery. So I made thousands off of that, and it just went right back into the household, taking care of, this and that and whatnot. But I think that the biggest part of that was buying those books and then selling them off again. I made so many friends online.
Yeah.
It's as we are moving forward in the years, it's no longer 2010 or 2000 or we're in 2023 going into 2024. People are more antisocial, than they used to be because of the internet, because of all the things they can stay home and play video games. And I've been one of those people in the past to play a couple video games here and there. I haven't in a few years, but yeah, a lot of my friends, I'd call them up and be like, hey, let's go shoot the bows today. We got the family ready. You want to go? And no, I'm going to stay home and game, or I'm going to stay home and do this. And I can't knock anybody, it's their life and whatnot. But I think the technology has brought us as humans to the point where we're secluding ourselves from other humans more and more. And that's too bad.
Yeah.
We've actually thought about leaving the state, to get closer to a bigger archery and hunting community, but for now we're going to stay here. My daughter just had her daughter, so I'm a grandfather. 4 months, she's 4 months old, so we're intergenerational living in the apartment right now and helping them with wisdom and whatnot when we can to help take care of the baby. And we enjoy it, but we didn't want to move out of state now. Maybe that'll be 4 years off.
Yeah. When you start getting kids and family, it's a little bit harder to move around.
It is. Yep. Unless they actually wanted to come with us, which you never know. They may someday. I got my daughter's man, for lack of a better word, fiance, I'm not sure, but I got him a job at where I work. And so we both have decent jobs. And if he sticks it out, he'll have a very decent job because he's starting off a lot younger than I did.
Yeah.
And I was able to work my way up in the company. So I think he'll be able to do the same. We work for an accounts receivable company, one of the biggest on the East Coast, one of the best. And so, yeah, that's that. We're hoping to hit, just to get it out there, we're hoping to hit the Howard Hill Traditional Classic, the Baltimore Bowman Traditional Classic. I think Hawkeye in New York is a place we're looking to hit next year. Florida, the Traditional Archery Society World Championships, we want to make it down to Florida. So yeah, we're gonna hit a lot of shoots next year, see how we can do, and it doesn't matter if we come in last, as long as we're having a blast.
Yeah.
What's gonna matter.
Like Randy and I used to do when we go out. It's like, who got to give it, who had to take it on the way home. Yeah, we didn't care where we come in because we didn't care.
Well, I have made a couple new friends that I'm hoping will, want to come along to the shoots with us. You never know, we'll invite them and see what's what. I know my buddy Kevin did say he wants to come along to a couple. I'm hoping my buddy Eric will want to come along to the couple out of state ones. But the out of state shoots were always the funnest. They have novelties at rendezvous that I'm not sure if you know what novelty targets are or novelty shoots. But it's like aerial targets that they toss up, and sometimes they'll have a poker challenge where they'll put a bunch of cards up and you have to shoot cards. Sometimes they'll have a balance beam with milk jugs, and then you have two competitors, and they fill the jugs with water. You got to see who gets the water out of their jug first, and it's like a balance beam. Yeah. kind of last man standing type things. They'll have steel deers with a small spot taken out for the kill zone.
Yeah.
And you don't get your arrow destroyed, you're the last man standing, then you win that, Though that kind of stuff along with the 3D tournaments always made it a lot of extra fun on top of that stuff. And it's something I didn't see at a lot of our local shoots. It was the local shoots now have become quite an in and out, type of deal. There's definitely not as many people shooting them as there used to be. And you get there 6:30, 7 o'clock, you're out there 2 hours later. You're done the whole course, 30 targets, and you go spend the rest of the day with your family. Whereas it used to be, it was at least half a day, and you got to talk to more people. It may have taken longer to get around the course, but it was more of an experience and adventure.
Yeah.
Not so much like that anymore. But we're going to bring that back, hopefully.
Yeah. There's there's a couple, down in Georgia and Tennessee, they've got a lot of stuff that they're growing down there. Archery seems to be growing down there in that area. You might want to think about going down and going to one of those shoots.
I've got some friends actually. There's a Tennessee Classic down there. I remember Julia mentioned that, I believe, in
Yep.
your podcast with her. That is on the list, but there's like 5 maybes. That was one of the maybes.
Oh, one of the maybes.
That was one of the maybes. There's a couple more. There's one out in Illinois. The Comptons. I'm actually a Comptons member, and they're out in Michigan. They have 2 shoots each year. We've wanted to go a couple of times. We just haven't made it out there. That's where my wife's actually from originally, is Michigan. So she wants to get back there and visit. So I imagine we'll do that, over the next few years as well. There are a lot of 3D shoots for the all traditional guys. You just got to be willing to travel. And
Yeah,
but when you do, it's never a bad time. It really has. I've never been to a bad 3D shoot in my life. Never, period. But for an all traditional shoot, they've always been the funnest times. They really have. I've shot really lousy at a couple of them, and it didn't bother me in the least, because I always came away with, a new friendship, something learned, to take me to the next level maybe, or learned about a new bow that I might want to try out. There's always something out there.
or learn that you want to practice more so you don't lose so many arrows.
I've got it down now to maybe I think this past season I only lost 3 or 4. Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, well, you in the way past though, before family picked up, like 15, 20 years ago, I was going around, we weren't losing arrows. I was shooting with the hardcore group of guys that they were always shooting 230s to 250s. These guys, Kevin Coleman, Harry Hubbard, Jacques Bonin, they were and are, fantastic shots. Great guys to learn from. There's another couple guys that really carried the flame through the past 10 years or so, I would say, at our local shoots and all around. Daryl Andrews is a great shot. He's the club president for our local club, the White Mountain Traditional Bow Hunters. He's always 230s or better shooting, and that's really good for a trad guy. That's 8, or that's pretty much 8s or better all the way around the course. So yeah, it's having a great time with it. 42 years, and it's going to go on. Who knows how long? I'm hoping I live another 10 or 20.
Yeah.
Let's pray for that. And I'll just go down in poundage. I'm going to continue shooting as long as, if I live till I'm 80, then I'll probably be shooting a 20-pound longbow, but I'll still be shooting.
Yeah. Just, shoot what you can shoot it. If you can shoot the heavier pounded bow, then shoot them. If you go too heavy though, you can start getting injuries, and then you're not shooting at all. So you got to be kind of careful of that. Don't go up too quick.
Nope, absolutely not. Um, Back in the day, I've done so much in archery. I mean, I'll never be able to talk about it all. Um, but since you mentioned that, there was time me and my buddy Kevin were practicing to build up our strength. I had bought
Oh yeah.
it was a 72-pound longbow. He has it now. Actually, I ended up selling it to him. I shot it for a whole season, and he had me pulling a 60-pounder and a 20-pounder to build up to 80 pounds until I could finally bring it back. I was, and I did it. Then I shot that 72-pounder. He was pulling back like 260-pounders. Like literally, we'd stack them next to him in his hand, and whoop, whoop, and
Oh,
that's not even comparing to the archers of old, like Howard Hill and other people who had,
yeah.
drawn back 120, 140 plus pound bows, you know. But you're right about the shoulder. It's more people I've met that have shot stout recurves and longbows have always had to go down, or they have rotator cuff issues. I was actually reading in one of a book I just ordered. I don't know if I'm going to resell that book or not, but I had just ordered this E. Donald Thomas book, and he was talking about an issue that he had with his shoulder, and that's a guy who had always shot heavy poundage bows. He's a doctor at that too.
Yeah. You'd think the doctor would know better, but sometimes they make the worst patients, right?
Yeah, he's very eloquent in print, so he spells out exactly why he felt the way he felt going into shooting heavy poundage bows, and he's just using logic and common sense, and that same logic and common sense kicks in when you're a little wiser and a little older, and you can't do what you once did. Now you see the other side to that coin.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, 56 pounds is definitely plenty enough to kill large game, and
Yeah.
it feels a heck of a lot better on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I shoot now 46 pounds. I have the Super Magnum in the back, not Super Magnum, excuse me, the Kodiak, Super Kodiak that I have in the back. It's a factory camo. That bow is 50 plus years old, I want to say. Shoots great. That one's 47 pounds at 28. The ASL, my McBroom Custom, is 46 pounds at 28. And I'm only pulling back 27. So it's probably about 44 pounds at my drawing. All of my self bows are right around the 48 to 50 pound mark. So I don't draw back more than 50 pounds anymore. I used to, and it's not due to pain or anything. It's just over the years, I can hold a lighter weight more comfortable.
Yeah.
When your arm starts, you know the saying, when your arm starts shaking, you're holding too much.
Yeah.
We used to see that a lot in archery, was that somebody would start out overbowed. They'd get their father's or their uncle's 60-pound recurve, and they'd start shooting that. And they'd have terrible form, and people would try and help them and put a 40-pound bow in that same person's hand, and everything just became a whole lot easier,
But yeah, and I've seen some can't even fully draw it back and drawing back and almost getting their hand to their chin instead of drawing back to where they need to be. And you're not really back in, you can't get that back into it. So you can really get that good form. And it's like
the perfect word.
go down 5 or 10 pounds,
We didn't even know what back tension. Well, we knew, but the words weren't around back tension back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Nobody talked about back tension yet, that's why these bare bow shooting people and Olympic archery becoming more and more popular now. It's great for the sport. It's teaching primitive shooters. It's teaching regular recurve shooters, regular longbow shooters, that back tension is not a bad word, and it's going to help your accuracy so much when you pull that bow back, however your form is, and you store energy. And you've got that back tension there, and you're just storing that energy, and you're just worrying about aiming. This part just takes care of itself.
Right.
At least with me, my brain knows within 1 to 2 seconds, oh, you're on, your back tension's there, and then boof, that just goes. And I just have to worry about not getting excited or plucking it or anything like that.
Yeah, you don't pluck your string, you pluck your chickens.
Yep, absolutely. Um, yep, have had some custom bows made over the years. That's a nice, enjoyable thing um, in our aspect of archery. I'm sure you guys can do the same thing. Like I've looked on Onita's website. I wanted to get a Phoenix some years back when they first came out, and you had different options to choose from.
Yeah,
Your length and your riser and colors and string colors and whatnot. It's a little bit different with longbows and recurves. Like you can choose your clear glass or colored glass. You can choose your riser materials. Anything from zebra wood to regular old maple to Bacote. Anything you want under the sun that's legal to get in the country.
yeah.
Because I'm not even sure if Purple Heart and Brazil wood are still legal or if you have to use what's already over here. I'm not sure, but you can get
Yeah, I
whatever
don't
you.
know.
And like I said, there's so many bowyers across the country that just have been making bows for decades that are, some of the greatest names across the country making them. And there's new ones coming out each year. So it's fun too. If you don't want to, like, I don't make arm guards. I don't make gloves or tabs. I order all my tabs and arm guards lately. Like I've got a couple custom arm guards that I've had made for me in the past, but I have two arm guards now that I had made by Omnivore Homestead, along with all my tabs and Nicole's tabs too. He does a great job of that. He's Mark Harrison and the family down in Florida, but he's on Facebook and they're great to work with. Super turnaround. And you place an order with them. I've got my last name, Battistelli, so my nickname was Batman for the longest time on the archery scene. I've got two Batman insignias on my tabs because he can do that.
Oh,
And he hands to me within like 4 or 5 days. He's like, oh, it might be a couple weeks. I was like, all right, don't worry about it. I paid him. And then I was like, no problem. And then like 4 or 5 days, they were on my doorstep. It was incredible. So yeah, that's I had to shoot with that group for like 4 or 5 years till I got that name, till I really was, right on their heels, coming in fourth or fifth all the time. Then I got relegated to that, and I made the mistake of, well, not a mistake, but I switched over to shooting self bows, primitive bows. And one weekend we were at a rendezvous, and I had a really, really bad weekend. And they started telling me every time you miss a target or you shoot a bad shot, you shoot in the butt or in the snout or something, we're gonna demote you from Batman down to the next. And they warned me. So the first demotion was Bat Boy. And then it just went down to there. It went down to Bat Baby, Bat Fetus, and you can imagine it went down. Yeah, that's the kind of fun that we have on the course, though, is we'll shoot the whole thing and then we'll go around again. And maybe when a guy pulls back his favorite arrow or something, somebody will let out a nice loud noise of gas, if you know what I mean. And then that arrow
Yeah.
goes flying off, that's the kind of jokes and stuff we have. And it's a good time, it's, I guess it's the equivalent to going out to a bar with your friends, or other things. Like you said, I've watched in your podcast, you were in martial arts. So
Right.
it can be like a discipline if you take it like that, and in certain aspects I've gotten onto the range by myself and just been like, I need some time to practice and get better, or I need some time this time to clear my head. And I don't care about where my arrows are. And it's just meditation, And then there's those times where you just get with that one group of people that you really love, and you just have a lot of laughs and a lot of good times that you'll never forget. So.
Yeah, that's always there's a lot of similarities between doing the martial arts. I've talked about that obviously in the past, but there's a lot of disciplines, and I've kind of incorporated my martial arts training with my archery and all that and stuff, and merged them into what I think is the most efficient way to shoot. But like I've said many times, that's how I shoot, not necessarily how you're going to shoot. But I'm going to teach you that way and then modify it. So that's
Yep, I've heard you say that a bunch. Yep, modify it.
yeah, you're constantly, looking at modifying. Once you get something that works, then it's time to quit messing around. Once you get, then when you get to a point, okay, you get to a point and you can't get any better. Now I need to look at what little can be changed to give that little piece. Like a beginner.
Yeah.
I still teach them the same basic thing, but I'm not going to get as picky on the little minute things because they're not going to understand them yet. They're not at the skill level that little change is going to do anything for them because they haven't followed into what's comfortable for them. So what I if you tweak them too early, then you might actually be going the wrong way with what works best for them. So it's
That's
just kind of one of those things that you just gotta get them started. I've had somebody's like, well, why don't you teaching them this way? Do it. Well, we'll change that later. No, you're not. You're never going to change it later. You teach them right to start with. And, I said many times, I've taken people from 6-inch groups to 1-inch groups. And, it's just a matter of the bow's got to fit you. For one, compounds is real bad at, they don't fit you. You're doing things so far off that it's hard to get going. The recurve or longbow, it's a little bit different on fitting you because the draw length is set for whatever you draw it to.
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm just going to get your form and I draw the same draw length I do whether I'm shooting a compound or recurve because my arm is in that same position, the same grip and everything. The only difference is on a compound, I don't hang on to it all. When it shoots, it just does what it wants to do. Well, with the recurve, I have to kind of wrap my fingers around just a little bit more so I don't drop the bow.
Yeah. I use the V with the recurve too. Yeah. Very, very, very loose grip. But I still bend the arm with the longbow. It's more of a broom handle grip or a suitcase grip. So you're using, pretty much here, and then you're lining that up in the back. And when you get it right, it. You're airably.
The grips are different on them. How the grip is cut into the wood is different.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
You got,
and even recurve to recurve, they're different. If it's a deflexed riser, it's usually a lot easier to shoot. A lot more comfortable to shoot than something that's a little reflex that's faster, but it's got that torque issue.
Yeah.
It's got a slightly deflexed riser. There's not too many recurves out there that have a deflexed riser in our community, but there are some. A lot of them have deflexed risers or just regular. I did have one of my custom longbows that I had last year, actually. I bought it from a gent out in Texas, Benoit Longbows. I got a reverse handle longbow. I was into those for a quick minute, really. I really love shooting those. That's when the handle is actually on the other side of the longbow. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So that's a reverse handled longbow. So the torque is almost non-existent, because you don't, it's behind the, everything.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe, but when you see, you get it. And the shooting is, you feel it. Like I enjoy string follow longbows that follow the string slightly instead of straight or back set.
Yeah.
Shot a bunch of them all. It's just, I prefer the string follow, and it's just me. That's, everybody's different in our community. Compound archers the same. They're all different.
Yeah.
People could have the same bow. I see it all the time on the 3D archery course. When I go out, I see 3, 4, 5 guys will have the same bow, but they'll have all different rests, all different sights, all different stabilizers. So everything under the sun is customized to them, and it's an enjoyable experience for them.
That's the nice thing about archery is you can customize it however you want to do it.
Yeah.
Especially when you get into making arrows, you you have, this is the crest you put on your arrows. This is the way you
Mhm.
do them. And, even in compounds, you can crest your arrows if you want.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen tons of people that shoot compounds crest their arrows. Yeah.
Yeah.
They get to a point where they're so good. Some of these archers that I've seen over the years, that it's like, what's the next step to my game?
Right. Yeah.
I've gotten, now I'm not only a great shot, but I'm now awesome at tuning my compound, and I can go to the 3D course and shoot a 280 to 290 every time. What now can I do? So they get into, I make great arrows. Let me make even better ones, and let me make beautiful ones, and
Yeah.
these guys, gals succeed at doing that.
Yeah. I do my hunting arrows just slightly different than do regular arrows. Because on my hunting arrows, you can't see it too well on here, but I'll put like a fluorescent wrap below the fletching.
Mhm.
Normally they
Yep.
come the full length. You're supposed to do where the fletching is.
Right.
But I don't want to have to cut my fletching off and cut through the wrap. So I just put them down here. That's plenty. And then I can
Not-
still fletch. I still shoot feathers. My sons shoot. They both shoot feathers. It's because I fletched their arrows and I'm fletching them with feathers. Now, this is one of my son's arrows. It's a gold tip tradition, so it looks like wood, but it's
Yep.
not.
Love
The
those.
only way you can shoot wood looking arrows is to shoot carbon wood grain arrows, because you put a wood arrow in a compound bow, you're not gonna like the results.
No, don't be doing that. Especially, I mean, maybe you could have done it with a 1970s or early 80s compound, but not with the speeds they're putting out. That was a bad accident waiting to happen.
I had a guy one time says you can't use wood arrows, the compound bow, and he argued with me. They're like, dude, your arrows will not take the force that comes out of a compound bow. Even the
Yeah.
lighter ones, like the old ones that didn't have a lot of speed, you still have that, a little bit more instant. Some of them were just kind of like round wheels. They really wasn't much let off, but still, I wouldn't risk it, because that arrow breaks, it's in your hand or your arm. It's going through it.
Absolutely. I've seen a couple bad things, like that. A couple of splinters through the old web here. I
Yeah.
wrap all of my self bow arrows, all my wood arrows I'm shooting on my self bow. I wrap them all, and it's all because of a picture actually that I was shown by Kevin Grenier about probably 20 years ago. But if you notice, it wrapped just like primitive arrows. I'll do this with silk on regular arrows that I have like red or orange fletching. I'll do a matching
Yeah.
thing, but I shoot off the knuckle, so I don't have a rest when I shoot my self bows. So that feather will never go into that web. But if you don't, and that glue picks up from there, well, you're taking a chance of going to a hospital that way.
Oh, yeah. Well, what I do
That
whenever I do feathers, I'll take on the tip of the feather and I'll put a drop of glue.
Yep, that's what I do with all mine. Yep.
And then that helps, keep that down. If you don't, then you can get, well, this one needs to get repaired, but the one fletching's coming off. But I always do the drop on the front and back, because there's times when I've had the middle come loose, but the front and back is there. Just lift them up, stick good, and stick them back down, and good. Nice thing about feathers, you can actually have pieces missing out of it. They still fly
I never
good.
used to do that, Roy, but we were actually talking about that, me and my buddy Kevin, yesterday when I showed him those 2018s. I had made them a few years ago, fletched them up, and I hadn't used them. And he's like, "What's up with these? They're the top. You don't put any glue." And I was like, "Well, I didn't on those, blah blah blah." And but I use fletch tape, and now, as of about 2 years ago, I do the front and back, because I would shoot with the fletch tape, and then it started loosening up, and they curl, and they pick up. And I was like, you know what? I never wanted to take the time out to do this, but we're gonna do it from now on. So every dozen I make from now on, and since then they've never lifted. The arrows have never moved. they've been perfectly fine. Even the fletch tape itself, they haven't picked up yet. Been real lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple little tricks that you learn over the years, and that's one of those things that I don't know why I started doing it. It just like it was rough, and I just kind of smoothed it out. And I don't hit it on my rest, but, because on my hunt bow I got a 2-prong rest,
Yeah.
and on my other bow it's a drop away, so it's not going to hit the fletching at all. But I still like to put that on the front and back. I don't know why I started it. I couldn't tell you. I've just done it for years.
It's a thing I read about, years ago, and I just didn't put it into practice until I started seeing that issue on my own. And then I was like, yeah, we definitely need to start doing that. We'll see if it helps out. And it did, because I only make maybe 1 dozen of arrows a year. And sometimes I'll make 2 if I'm lucky. But I order all my arrow shafts from these guys, probably not nearly enough because I've only ordered a few dozen.
Who is that?
Um,
I can't read your hat.
Sherwood shafts I believe they're out of Oregon. Yeah, they do Douglas fir.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I've made cedar arrows, Douglas fir, hickory, ash, river cane. What other ones? Chundu or white pine, lodgepole pine. I've made arrows out of pretty much every wood species that's available, over the years. I've always wanted to try them. I'd be like, oh, that's one I didn't try. Ash was the worst. Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were really tough, super tough, but they were hard to get straight. And back 3 decades ago, I didn't know that heat helped out that straightening process.
Oh yeah.
Keep them straighter for longer. So I didn't do that. That's something I would do now, though. We learn, like every year goes by, I learn something new, whether I get reminded by a friend, or whether they teach me something new. Because I definitely not the know all end all. I think we could probably both of us go our whole lives and still not be the know all end all of archery or bow hunting. We'll always be learning.
Yeah, even if you focus on one little aspect of it, there's always something changing every day. Something else is different, and like when you're out hunting, it's like, well, the deer act one way one day, next week they might be acting differently. So what you learn this week is different from next week, which is different from the next week, and season to season. And
absolutely, yeah. I haven't even gotten out hunting once yet this year. I may be going out this weekend with my buddy Eric. He's said we might be able to get out. My truck just got totaled last week. My fiance was going on the way to work. Thank goodness she's okay, but the truck's done. So we are temporarily off the road for a few weeks till we go buy a new vehicle or get the insurance check, whichever is first. But he's offered to maybe take me out this weekend. We'll see what happens, hopefully. That's the one thing I do miss about not, being able to walk or hop on a bike or whatnot, with my bow and to the woods. We're too far in the inner city now. We're not on the outskirts. I did live for a time in Bedford, which was nice because then I could just go out to the woods there. Out in Ware, I lived there for 6 years through my whole teenage years. I used to shoot every single day. Every single day when I get home from school, I'd feed the animals that we had on our farm, and then I'd shoot the bow for a couple hours before I had to come in the house. So I got to get back out to the woods again.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that loves to shoot often. I know it's not for everybody. Over the years, I've shot with gents that literally can shoot once a week and outshoot me any day of the week. They just have, so, and it's great to just watch those people in action. I came into archery humble enough because, or didn't come into it, but I came to traditional archery humble enough because I had already done okay at compound archery, not great. My brother was a very good compound archer. He actually went to the IBO Worlds one year, and he placed. He was a really good compound archer. He hasn't been shooting as of late, I don't think. He has a business that he's running. Don't know where I was going with that story. Where were we at the beginning?
Hey, but just let the stories just flow.
They do sometimes. But well, because I just got it in my head that I kind of miss shooting with him. We shot a lot when we were young, and we haven't shot in a couple decades together. That's something I should, jump back on, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan to connect up and just do some shooting again. And
That's what it was. It was compound, the switch to compound excuse me, to traditional. When I made that switch, now we'll go on to a different topic because I forget.
yeah. No, it's really been great talking with you tonight. It's always fun talking with archers, and what would you tell the listeners about archery? What's your final thoughts on archery?
If you're not involved in it, give it a try, and find your local club online. Find an indoor shooting range online, an outdoor shooting range. Even just go to Bass Pro Shop if you are well enough off and buy a very, very inexpensive starter kit just to see if you like it. You don't even have to keep it. You could hand it off to a youth or somebody else if you intend on upgrading, or if you don't like it, then you can, sell it or once again give it away. But if you're not involved, try it. If you are, try other aspects. You may enjoy the other aspects of it. For years, like I said, I was a gearhead. I loved going and getting that new piece of gear and seeing what that would do to my shooting or to my bow performance or whatnot. And then when I got involved in that, everything from leather crafting to woodworking, I started, I think that's probably the nicest quiver that I've made. It's a side quiver that I can wear over my side. And it's got a belt loop on the other side. I can wear it as a belt quiver. It comes all the way down to my ankle, but it's still off the ground. And I can also wear it as a back quiver. You can do things like that, and legitimately, that's the only quiver I'd ever need to use again. If I didn't have the nice ones like my small game hunting back quiver, or the side quivers, I do those. I should start giving those away. I probably will as I grow older and we don't have room on the walls or whatnot. I'm still going to want to make, but I'll probably just give them away. Or we have at some rendezvous, we have blanket swaps where you can do trades with people or sell things for a very minimal amount. I know you've had this on there. Everybody's saying ETAR, 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 and I want to make it down there. I have not yet. I've been planning to go for almost 30 years, and still haven't made it down to Pennsylvania for that. And I want to go.
You got to go. Plan it for this next year.
Well, the thing is, Roy, if we went, my personality says I need to bring $3,000 to $5,000 with me.
Oh,
that's the problem. I don't want to spend half a car down there,
No,
the price of a camper when I
yeah.
go down. But I know it's going to be like that. I definitely would try all the bows that I could to try and find that perfect bow. But yeah, that's what it is for us. Hopefully me and Eric can get out there hunting this year together, and me and Liam as well, once we get a new vehicle in the next month. Other than that, 40 years of archery's been great. It's been a lot of fun, at least once a week. with us, usually multiple times a week, whether it's shooting or crafting stuff, or I shoot in the house here, you know. We have a system set up where everybody knows when I'm shooting and where to be at that time. I only have 8 yards, but it's from room to room, and it's very careful. No windows or anything around.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I get to probably practice more than the normal person, in the inner city. But we have a couple of public archery ranges in New Hampshire, which is nice. We have the Bear Brook Archery Range in Allenstown. And then we have Owlbrook, I want to say. It's up north, New Hampshire. I don't know exactly the town. Holderness, maybe. Then we have, probably a couple dozen fish and game clubs that you can join up to, or regular archery clubs. I'm getting some paperwork in the mail from a Merrimack Archery Club. It's called the Watonic. It's my favorite 3D course in the state, just because of the scenery, not even because of their targets. The trail walk and the scenery on the second half is bar none, beautiful. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of water lilies out there sometimes. And
Oh,
in the
yeah.
spring, summer. Oh yeah, that's why I named my daughter Lily. Yeah, I've been going to that shoot since I was 8. Always, every summer I looked forward to seeing the flowers when we go out there. I just became a member of another bow hunting club out in Auburn. It's actually the Manchester Bow Hunters. We were family membership there for a couple of years, but then we let it lapse over the COVID, and then just went back for it again. So, yeah, become members of your local clubs. And you don't even actually be a member, just get in touch with them and they'll let you try things. They'll say, hey, come
Yeah.
on down. We'll get a mentor or two out there to be with you while you're trying the sport out. And if you tell them, hey, I want to try it out, but I don't have any equipment, they'll probably be willing to. Everybody is so friendly, when it comes to archery. Really, you're talking like an 85 to 90%, I would say, friendly rate,
Yeah.
of people really that are more than willing to show you or give you hints or this and that. Now, you can't listen to everybody. That.
Yes.
I think you'd have to use common sense and your good judgment on who not to listen to as a human if they wanted to try archery, but they'd find out who the people to listen to and who aren't in a quick fashion. But yeah, try it out if you haven't. And if you have, try other aspects of it. It might not, if you're a traditional guy, a lot of traditional guys will curse me and hang me on the cross for this, but I don't have anything against crossbows. I don't have anything against compound bows, because that's kind of where I came from, was compound bows. So they
Right.
still actually interest me. I still like watching them. I still watch a ton of hunting videos with compound bows. The Hunting Public's one of my favorite YouTube videos to watch, and those guys are all compound shooters. Learn a ton off of watching their stuff. So that's another thing. Get on Facebook groups, ask questions like yours, show a video of yourself shooting. If you have access to equipment, ask, hey, Roy, or other people, what am I doing wrong? How can
Yeah.
you help become better? When somebody
Yeah.
becomes better at something, they enjoy it more. They get more passionate about it. If everybody just missed the target every single time, well, they wouldn't stick with it for more than a couple weeks.
No.
So start people close. That's another thing. Start shooting
Oh, yeah.
close. Don't start. Get somebody who can help you have good form. Start shooting close. Then take it a yard back at a time, or however you're taught to do it, a foot back at a time, a yard, 5 yards back, whichever. But yeah, get involved. That's it.
Biggest advice, just get involved.
That's it. There's too many clubs out there to not, and too much access nowadays with social media and the
Oh,
internet.
yeah.
Literally Google search anything. So you Google search my local archery club, it'll have, and then when you get to that archery club, you know, you don't have to tell them, hey, I don't like your place, but you could be like, is there any others around? You know, I'm looking to meet other people. I'm looking to, you know, we've got a place up in Rochester, New Hampshire, Coyote Creek Archery. They have a great indoor range, you know. I've not made it up there yet. I've been to Coyote Creek, but since they've put in the archery range, I haven't been there. I want to go up there, you know, not to so much feed them business because I do custom stuff and I make my own stuff now, but I want to shoot next to some other people. I want to make friends
Right.
with others, you know? And I think that's a good thing it's good for us older people to not be antisocial and to get out the house. And it's also good for the younger crowd.
Right.
You got to not only get them involved in archery, but just get them away from the TV, get them away from the video game. I'm not going to lie. It's not an issue with our son. We tell him to put down the controller or put down the remote. You're going to shoot the bow. Let's go. And he's usually with bells on to do it. But this year has been different. He's got a girlfriend and he's got a job. Yeah. So the girlfriend and the job has been taking precedence over shooting the bow this year.
Yeah.
But we did tell him once, you're coming to a rendezvous with us for 2 days. And at first he shuffled his feet and he wasn't, you know, I'm not going to be able to have service and talk to my girl, blah, blah, blah. He had a great time. You know,
get her into archery and take her along.
I've already said that. And yeah, my fiance, my wife said the same thing. Let's bring her, you know, and eventually that might happen, you know, if they've only been together a year, but if they continue on, then that may very well become something. I hope it does.
Yeah. Oh, one way to get her into archery, you know, just get her a bow and figure out she needs a right or left-handed bow and get her a light one and say, here, you know, go out and shoot together.
Here. We've got kids' bows here, just in case, you know, the Nicole, actually, we found out after 12 years of her shooting, she is cross-eye dominant. So she's been shooting right-handed her whole 12 years, and she's left-eye dominant. So we tried her shooting a left-handed bow with the kids because we knew it was going to be,
right.
You know, she wasn't going to be as strong. And she did it. And she's like, you know, I'll have to work at it, but maybe this will work for me. Maybe this will be more enjoyable. So we're going to try that. I think she's aching to get a new custom bow made for a left-handed shooter, though.
Yeah.
Have to get a purple one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, it's better in the long run if you do, but sometimes you can't because of other physical, you know, limitations. But you know, hey, if you can shoot that dominant eye, you're going to be much better at your eye-hand coordination shooting your dominant eye.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I do like that you've had some of the really big names. Well, some of them, you know, especially on the competitive side, the 3D side of the traditional archery on as of late. You know, I've scrolled through your Spotify list and I see a lot of names that I'm friends on Facebook with, or I watch their, you know, their posts that they put up and whatnot. And you've had them on, and that's enjoyable. I like that a lot. I hope you continue on with that. Not just, you know, traditional guys, but also compound guys as well. You know, people that I've seen on YouTube or whatnot, and I've watched them and their progression, and then you've had them on, and then to hear, you know, their points of view and their same passion for the sport has fueled mine as well.
Yeah, that's what my goal is, you know, to be able to have a place where, you know, we can all learn from each other and you know, talk archery, and that's, you know, that's where I'm going with it, and that's where, you know, I want to go. And you know, I learned something from all those people I talk to, you know, whether I'm, you know, I normally do compounds, I have a recurve, I don't shoot it much, but you know, I learned from them. You know, the first time I had somebody on that did the string walking, it's like, you know, I heard Jake Kaminsky say, you know, it's a string walker. It's like, I was watching the, Skinwalker, the TV show about that ranch up in Utah. And I'm like, okay, what's a string walker? And then so he kind of didn't really explain too well, but when I had somebody on that did, it's like, okay. And since then I figured out, okay, basically
Click, 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 click,
you're
click.
moving your
Yep.
hand down,
Yep.
using that, and like, that seems like that's a whole lot of extra work I really don't want to try and figure out.
Those guys are so good. They really are. Some of them. They're yeah. I mean, each wrap around the string, you're going down with your thumbnail. So that is so precise.
Oh yeah.
I've not tried it yet. It may be something that I do try, but if I do, it would be with more of a modern day recurve, I think, like either a bare bow style or like a Bob Lee style that's a lighter weight. Definitely wouldn't be with the old Super Kodiak by Bear or something like that.
Yeah.
It would a higher end bow that's meant to perform in that way. But it's just it does appeal to me to put your arrow point on what you want to hit, you know. And that got a bad name for some reason or another, Roy. I don't know why, decades ago. And I think you know what, I kind of do know why. I think it's because the regular guys at that time couldn't compete with string walkers, and that jealousy came in. So believe it or not, in a lot of the shoots we had around here, late 90s, early 2000s, they no string walkings right on the flyer,
Yeah.
And some of us, like myself, would be like, what is string walking? I had no idea back then. And
Yeah.
then my buddy would tell me, because they didn't care about string walking. But then, other people would ask while we're registering, and then the people would tell them with the disdain and look in their face, oh, that's blah blah blah. You're not bringing your fingers all the way to the, the knock of the arrow, or all the way to your string knock when you knock above. And it's just a different style of shooting. You want to make it all that, make it a different class, but to not have those people at your shoots, they were just doing themselves a disservice back then. And I think it's excellent that it's becoming more and more popular, along with the bare bow, because that's such a nice transition from compound to the bare bow, or compound to string. It really is. It helps that person who was competent or better or excelled at using the compound to make that quick transition over to the traditional equipment. If they're doing a string walking, they figure things out, they're tuning their setup, then they're going to be good to go pretty quick. It does take longer if you use other styles of shooting, indirect aiming, or whatever you want to use. I use I would say three different styles for three different bows. The self bow, I don't shoot the same as the longbow, and I use it like a J hook draw for my longbow and recurve, whereas I'll kind of have an arrow sitting that way, but I'll bring it around like a J, whoop, to my base. And then the self bows are always more of a cant and then straight back, even if I do anchor, which I've been doing the past few weeks. There's so much in archery. Really, there's so much. You could literally, like me, own a compound on the wall and then three other different styles of bows, and not even, touch one week, one another, and then start that process all over again.
Just keep cycling them around.
We've legitimately gone to the range with, 6, 8, 9 bows at a time, the family, and 3 of them will be Liam's, 3 of them will be mine, 2 Nicole's and Lily hers, or, we'll just have a whole thing out there that day, and we'll be like, all right, shoot the bows and see what we're feeling that day, and then we'll continue on with it.
Yeah. Bill, we've been talking for a couple hours here, and I'm sure you got things to do, and
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, the wife just got home a little while ago. I can hear her talking out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna go eat dinner soon.
Yeah, my dinner's ready, and so time to go eat.
Do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's been great talking with you, and we'll definitely chat later, and we'll just keep this going. And for those that are listening, um, stay tuned for the next one. That's going to be another exciting one. Each one is different, unique, and you got to listen to them all.
All right, Roy, it was great having me. I thank you
Yeah,
very much for having me, rather. Thank you.
yeah.
And
Thanks.
hope everybody gets out there and shoots straight.
Yeah. My name is Roy Canterbury. I've been your host today on Archery Talk 101, and we'll see you